First contact and betrayal. The United Earth vessel Prometheus drifted silently through the darkness of space, its sleek hull reflecting the distant stars as it approached the designated meeting point. This was humanity's most significant moment. First contact with an advanced alien civilization known as the Vexari. Admiral Elena Reyes stood on the bridge, her weathered face calm despite the historic weight of the moment. Her dark eyes narrowed slightly as she studied the approaching alien vessel through the main view screen. The Vexari ship moved with perfect precision, its strange crystalline design unlike anything humans had built. "They're exactly on schedule," noted Chief Science Officer Dr. Marcus Chen, checking his instruments. His voice carried a mixture of professional detachment and barely contained excitement. Not a second early or late. Their navigation must be incredibly precise. Admiral Reyes nodded. "Punctuality seems to be something we have in common." The bridge crew worked in focused silence. This moment would be remembered in history books for centuries to come. Humanity had dreamed of this day since people first looked up at the stars. When the communication screen activated, the humans got their first close look at the Vexari. Tall, slender beings with iridescent blue-green skin and large golden eyes that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. High Emissary Zorthol spoke in a voice that the translation software rendered as melodious and calming. "Greetings, children of Earth. The Vexari Collective welcomes you to the Galactic community." The initial talks went better than anyone had dared hope. The Vexari seemed genuinely interested in human culture, art, and science. They offered to share certain technologies and approved human settlement on several worlds near their territory that they claimed were uninhabited but suitable for human physiology. Within months, the first joint human Vexari research facility opened on Mars. Trade agreements were signed. Human musicians performed for Vexari audiences, while Vexari art was displayed in museums across Earth. 7 new colony worlds began receiving human settlers, with Novaterra becoming the largest and most prosperous. Director Sofia Diaz oversaw Novaterra's development personally. She took pride in the colony's growing success, its farms producing their first harvests, schools opening for the children, and construction beginning on a new spaceport that would increase trade with both Earth and Vexari worlds. "We're building something special here," she told the Colony Council during their 2nd anniversary celebration. "A new chapter in human history." But far from human eyes, in the hidden research complexes beneath the crystalline cities of the Vexari homeworld, the aliens viewed humans very differently. Lead researcher Kel Vex moved between examination tables where unconscious human subjects lay, traders and diplomats who had disappeared during visits to Vexari space. "Their biology shows remarkable resilience," Kel Vex explained to the gathered military officials. "They survive in environments that would kill most species. Their immune systems fight off infections with surprising efficiency. Their reproductive rate is concerning." An older Vexari with military insignia stepped forward. "And your conclusion?" "They are a potential threat," Kelvex said simply. "Given sufficient time and access to advanced technology, they could eventually challenge Vexari dominance in this sector. Their unpredictable nature makes them dangerous. The test colonies have provided valuable data, but we have learned all we need." The military leader's eyes pulsed with a cold light. "Then proceed with the next phase." 2 years and 8 months after first contact, the attack came without warning. Director Diaz was reviewing construction plans in her office when emergency alarms blared throughout Novaterra colony. She rushed to the window and felt her blood turn cold. The sky, normally clear blue, had darkened with the shadows of massive Vexari warships. "This can't be right," she whispered, even as her training kicked in. She slammed her hand on the emergency broadcast system. "All citizens, this is not a drill. Proceed immediately to the emergency shelters. I repeat, this is not a drill." The first bombardment shook the building. Windows shattered. Systems failed. Diaz grabbed the backup communication unit and sent a desperate message toward Earth. "Vexari ships attacking Novaterra. They're firing on civilian targets. We need immediate. A second blast knocked her to the floor. Through falling debris, she managed to reach the unit again. They're killing everyone. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's extermination. Similar scenes played out across all 7 human colonies simultaneously. Vexari precision ensured communication blackouts within minutes of the first strikes. Civilian evacuation ships were targeted first, then hospitals and power plants. On Earth, the emergency transmission from Novaterra arrived during a United Nations Security Council session. The room fell silent as Director Diaz's desperate voice played over the speakers, cutting off mid-sentence. Seconds later, similar fragmented messages arrived from other colonies. Admiral Reyes, now stationed at Earth Defense Command, watched satellite imagery of the colonies going dark one by one. She thought of the Vexari representatives she had welcomed aboard her ship, the cultural exchanges, the promises of friendship. They planned this from the beginning, she said quietly. Everything was a lie. Dr. Chen, now head of xenobiology research, looked up from the data streaming across his screen. The colony locations, they weren't random unclaimed worlds. They're strategically positioned. If the Vexari hold those points, they have a direct path to Earth. Containment, finished Reyes. The president's voice came through their communication systems. I've called an emergency meeting of the United Earth Council. We need options, people. As night fell across the planet, billions of humans went about their lives, unaware that everything had changed. In government facilities, military bases, and research centers, lights burned through the night as humanity faced the shocking truth. Their first contact with alien life had been a careful deception. Now they faced an enemy who had studied them for years while pretending to be friends. The Vexari had pushed too far. They believed humans would be easy prey. They were wrong. The Grand Chamber of the United Earth Council fell silent as General Hernandez stepped away from the podium. The evidence he had presented hung in the air, both literally in the form of holographic displays and figuratively in the stunned expressions of the council members. 200 of Earth's most powerful leaders sat frozen in their seats. The holograms rotated slowly above the center of the room, showing Vexari scientists in sterile labs. Their alien hands moved with clinical detachment as they performed experiments on unconscious human subjects. The footage had been recovered from a damaged Vexari research vessel that had been abandoned during their retreat from Novaterra colony. The footage speaks for itself, General Hernandez said. His voice was steady despite having watched these recordings dozens of times during the verification process. These are not military prisoners. These are civilians from our colonies. Defense Minister Aisha Okoro stood up slowly. She was a tall woman with stern features and eyes that had seen 3 wars before this one. The biological data they're collecting confirms what our intelligence suspected. They're testing our biological vulnerabilities, looking for the most efficient ways to kill us. She swept her hand across the chamber. This was never about territory. They've been planning this from the beginning. The council room erupted in angry voices. Some demanded immediate military strikes against known Vexari worlds. Others called for evacuation plans to save as many humans as possible. A few simply sat in shocked silence. President Rivera raised his hands for quiet, one at a time. We need clear heads now more than ever. Ambassador Lai, who had led many of the initial contact missions with the Vexari, raised his hand. His face looked aged beyond his years, the weight of misplaced trust visible in the new lines around his eyes. We should attempt one final negotiation, he said. His voice was hollow but determined. Not because I believe they will accept peace, but because we must be certain. And because the galaxy must know we tried every option before what comes next. President Rivera nodded. I agree. We will send one final communication. Not pleading, not begging. A clear statement that they can cease hostilities and withdraw, or face the full response of humanity. The message was crafted carefully and sent through all available channels to the Vexari leadership. In the tense hour that followed, The Council reviewed evacuation procedures for Earth's major cities and a preliminary assessment of military readiness. General Hernandez stood by the main communication display, waiting. He had not expected a reply. When it came, the Vexari Supreme Commander appeared on screen, his golden eyes showing no emotion their human observers could recognize. Your species has two choices. The translation software rendered his melodic tones. Complete surrender and controlled reduction of your population, or extinction. You have 48 Earth hours to decide. The transmission cut before anyone could respond. The chamber remained silent for several long moments. Then Admiral Rice stood slowly, her decorated uniform reflecting the chamber lights as she walked to the center of the room. Metals from past Earth conflicts caught the light, reminders of human fighting human, now meaningless in the face of this new threat. Throughout our history, she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the room, humanity has faced those who believed our extinction was their right. Her eyes met those of council members one by one. They all learned the same lesson. She paused, the silence adding weight to her next words. We do not break. We adapt. We overcome. Defense Minister Okoro nodded slowly. The Vexari studied us for years, but they still don't understand us. They see our divisions and think we're weak. They don't understand that humans are never more dangerous than when fighting for survival. President Rivera called for the vote. The choice before us is clear. Do we fight with everything we have, or do we surrender and place the fate of humanity in Vexari hands? One by one, the council members registered their votes. The display at the front of the chamber tallied the results in real time. No one was surprised by the outcome. Unanimous. War. Humanity unleashed. President Rivera's expression was grim but resolved as he officially declared a state of global emergency. As of this moment, all Earth nations are unified against this threat. All previous conflicts between human governments are suspended. The meeting shifted to implementation. Defense plans that had existed only as theoretical exercises were now activated. Emergency broadcasts would begin within the hour. Civilian evacuation to hardened shelters would commence by morning. Admiral Rice left the chamber with her military staff, their footsteps echoing down the marble hallway. How badly are we outmatched? Asked her aide quietly. Significantly, she admitted. Their technology is at least a century ahead of ours, but they've never fought humans before. That night, as darkness fell across Earth's cities, dormant factory floors hummed to life. Production facilities that had been built during previous conflicts and maintained just in case began working at full capacity. On Mars, the military shipyards that most civilians didn't know existed initiated their emergency protocols. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a classified facility carved into the seabed, Dr. Mira Patel stood before a gathered team of Earth's most brilliant scientists and engineers. The room was filled with prototypes and experimental technology deemed too unstable or dangerous for conventional use. Project Prometheus is now authorized, she announced, entering her command codes into the central system. Full resources, no restrictions. We need deployable solutions, not perfect ones. She looked around the room. You've all speculated about what would happen if humanity faced an extinction-level threat. Now we know. As the scientists dispersed to their stations, Dr. Patel remained at the central console, reviewing the data recovered from Nova Terra before its fall. One file caught her attention, a detailed analysis of Vexari ships captured during their attack. Their shields, she murmured, leaning closer. They're calibrated against energy weapons, not kinetic impacts. She immediately called up Admiral Reyes. Within 24 hours, production lines across Earth had been reproposed. Traditional missile technology, considered obsolete for centuries, was now being manufactured at a massive scale. Engineers worked frantically to retrofit existing weapon systems. The Vexari fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system exactly when their ultimatum expired. Their crystalline ships moved in perfect formation, a symphony of death advancing toward Earth. When they reached Mars orbit, they transmitted a simple message: Your time has ended. What they found waiting for them was not surrender, but an armada of human ships, some military vessels, others hastily converted civilian craft. All had been equipped with the simplest weapons humanity had ever created, railguns firing tungsten rods. No explosives, no energy signatures for Vexari sensors to detect. Just solid metal accelerated to incredible speeds. The first barrage caught the Vexari completely by surprise. Their advanced shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, offered minimal resistance to pure kinetic force. Dozens of their ships shattered into crystalline fragments, drifting in the Martian orbit. Primitive projectile weapons, the Vexari commander transmitted, his melodious voice now tinged with something new: confusion. Is this the best Earth can offer? Admiral Rice didn't bother to respond. Instead, she gave the order for the second phase. Across the solar system, hidden missile platforms activated, launching thousands of kinetic penetrators at the Vexari fleet. The alien ships attempted to evade, but the sheer volume of the attack made complete evasion impossible. For 3 days, the battle raged throughout the solar system. The Vexari adapted their shields, but for each adaptation, humans found a new vulnerability to exploit. When kinetic weapons became less effective, Earth forces switched to electromagnetic pulse weapons. When the Vexari protected against those, humans deployed clouds of microscopic diamond dust that abraded and damaged the crystalline hulls. What the aliens failed to comprehend was that humanity wasn't fighting according to any doctrine or playbook. Each commander, each engineer, each soldier was improvising, adapting, finding new solutions to each problem as it arose. There was no predictable pattern for the Vexari to analyze and counter. On the 4th day, Dr. Paddle emerged from her underwater laboratory with dark circles under her eyes and a triumphant smile. "It's ready," she told Admiral Rice over a secure channel. Operation Thunderstrike began at 300 hours Universal Time. A small fleet of human ships, seemingly in retreat, lured the main Vexari force to Jupiter's orbit. There, they deployed Dr. Patel's creation. Not a weapon, but a communication device that broadcast directly into the Vexari command frequencies. The signal was based on the Vexari's own neural patterns, extracted from captured technology. It created a cascade of contradictory commands throughout their fleet, effectively paralyzing their coordinated efforts. Ship crashed into ship as automated systems received conflicting instructions. Communication between vessels broke down completely. In the chaotic hours that followed, Earth forces pressed their advantage. Not with overwhelming firepower, but with tactical precision, targeting propulsion systems, communication arrays, and command modules. By the time the Vexari managed to purge the disruptive signal from their systems, nearly 40% of their fleet had been neutralized. The supreme commander of the Vexari, isolated on his flagship, received a direct transmission from President Rivera. "You came to our home thinking us easy prey," the human leader said, his voice level and controlled. "You studied our biology, but failed to understand our nature. This is your one chance. Withdraw your forces, return our captured citizens, and never approach Earth or its colonies again." There was a long pause before the Vexari responded. "You were meant to be livestock, not warriors," the alien said, genuine bewilderment in his voice. "How could primitive beings, such as yourselves?" President Rivera cut him off. "Your answer, Commander: retreat or destruction. Choose now." The Vexari fleet began withdrawing from the solar system within the hour. Earth forces monitored their departure, weapons ready, until the last alien ship disappeared into the depths of space. In the aftermath, humanity began the painful process of rebuilding. The colonial worlds had been devastated, but not all was lost. Thousands of colonists had managed to hide in emergency bunkers or remote wilderness areas. Recovery teams found survivors on every world, clinging to life with the same tenacity that had won the war. 6 months after the Vexari retreated, a different alien vessel appeared at the edge of the solar system. Unlike the crystalline ships of the Vexari, this one was organic in appearance, curved and flowing like a living thing. It transmitted a simple message in multiple Earth languages. We are the Myriad. We have observed your conflict with the Vexari Collective. We would speak with you. Admiral Rice, commanding Earth's defense fleet, positioned her ships in defensive formation, but allowed the alien vessel to approach under escort. This time, humanity would be cautious, but not isolationist. The galaxy had learned that humans were not to be trifled with. Now it was time to show that they could also be valuable allies. In a chamber specifically designed for interspecies diplomacy, representatives of Earth met with the Myriad delegates. The aliens, resembling something between octopi and coral formations, communicated through color patterns and synthesized sound. The Vexari have dominated this sector for 10,000 years, the Myriad representative explained. Many species have fallen to their expansion. None have driven them back, until now. President Rivera nodded thoughtfully. We defended our home, nothing more. You did what was thought impossible, the Myriad corrected. You showed that technological superiority is not the only factor in conflict. The Vexari cannot comprehend your adaptability, your willingness to improvise. It terrifies them. Admiral Rice smiled slightly. Good. The meeting continued for hours, laying the groundwork for a new alliance. The Myriad offered knowledge about the wider galaxy and its many civilizations. Humanity offered its unique perspective and indomitable spirit. As the alien delegates returned to their ship, one of them transmitted a final message. The galaxy has existed in a certain order for millennia. Your species has changed that order in less than one of your Earth years. We look forward to what comes next. Standing at the viewport of Earth Orbital Station 1, Admiral Rice and President Rivera watched the Myriad ship depart. They're right, you know, Rivera said quietly. Everything has changed. Rice nodded. The Vexari pushed us to the brink of extinction, thinking we would break. She turned to face the blue-green planet below. Instead, they made us stronger. They forced us to unite, to innovate faster than ever before. Whatever comes next, humanity is ready. The stars no longer seemed distant and unreachable. They were humanity's future, a future they had fought for and earned, a future no one would take from them again.